some really good coaches, and we had some very good teams, lots of D1 players, lots of kids playing college, and we still have some good players and stuff. But overall, we're not teaching throughout the whole club in the same manner in the same time frame. So we actually try to implement coaching plans with people and to document those coaching plans. And I'm going to hold my hand up. I wasn't doing it, and many of us aren't doing it. So um, we're going to talk tonight a little bit about the summer period, which is a micro part of the year, and we're going to talk about the fall, and we're going to talk about the spring. And there's going to be these 8 to 12 week parts that the AGCs and the technical directors are going to look at each team and where they're at, and we're going to suggest how to go about doing the things that we're trying to implement. And of course, everybody has some pushback on what we're doing, but we want to stay consistent with what we're doing so that we can build as a team, and that we also, more importantly, can teach coaches a certain way of doing things, because a lot of us are coming in that are new coaches and we're just throwing them to the wolves and they're trying to learn on their own, right? And YouTube and all that stuff's great, but we want to be kind of going towards the same direction and rowing the same way. So again, the formation 4-3-3, that's been something we've done for a very long time. And I've had a couple of coaches say, well, I like to play a 4-4-2 diamond. My question is, when you play a 4-4-2 diamond, how are you going to press? You're going to get into a 4-3-3, right? And so I'm okay. We're okay with saying that's fine. You can get into different formations, but we got to have a base way of playing, and so that's super important. So we're going to dive into that a little bit more, but I just wanted to get into at least explaining that we know there's some frustration around that. Some of it could be we don't understand how to coach these things. That's fine. We're here to help, but also I just want to make it clear that we're not trying to force things down your throat. We're just wanting to actually support each other and be able to talk the same lingo. So sorry I beat the drum on that one, but I just really feel like it's important that we're all understanding that this isn't anything new. This is what the club's been aiming to do. It's in all of our literature, it's in all of our coaching stuff, but we're not, and I have not done a good job of making sure that we're delivering on those things. So I'm excited about getting into those pieces and having conversations with people and learning off of one another and getting excited about that. The other big piece is, we've had technical pieces of the club. Victor's been in, he's new to the club, he's seen it, and I've talked to a bunch of other coaches within the club, and we definitely have to work on our technical pieces, because we can talk about all the, and we'll get into this later, but we can talk about all the formations and how to play tactically, but if you can't trap and pass the ball and you can't put it where you want to, then it's pretty hard to be able to play soccer. So and some of these teams and some of these players are going to need more time with that than others, and we got to be able to teach both, but we just got to really focus on the technical pieces and really drill down. What else do I have on here? Coaches slates. We've talked to quite a few coaches. We haven't talked to everybody. It's not because we haven't wanted to. We've been busy doing loads of things, tons of age group meetings, tons of trying to figure out, talking to the teams, unloading those things. We created the coaches evaluations, which we really need from everybody. We didn't do them last year, which means we didn't deliver on things we said. And this year we got to follow through with that. And I believe the deadline's this Friday. Is that right? Friday. So we need to get those from everybody. I spent back with Corvallis Soccer Club. We were spending an hour on each player. I didn't quite spend that. I spent about 20 minutes on each player, but you can spend as little as 5 minutes, just write in some numbers and some notes. And get that to us, because we want to get those out to the players prior to tryouts, so that if we cut a kid or remove a kid from Navy to white, right, that we can say, hey, we gave you the evaluation. This is what we were looking for you to work on, and here's where you're going forward. And the other thing that we're doing with these evaluations, we're going to do them twice a year, at the end of the winter or fall season and at the end of the spring season, and we're going to keep individual files on each player throughout the time. So we'll just have them broken down by age groups and genders, and keep track of these over time, so that if somebody picks up a 10 player in 3 years, they're going to be able to look back at each player and how they developed through time and what the notes are for coaches. So we're trying to, again, act like a proper club and act and a proper business, and starting to try to do things in a way that makes sense. So really excited about that. We also try to make this evaluation not super long for you guys, because we value your time, but I hope you guys value your input back to the kids and the parents, because they really do want that information. And also we ask the parents for evaluations on the coaches, and for the vast majority of the parents, we got very good remarks. There were some that were fair with critical, and I even got a couple myself, and so we all have things to work on, and communication is one of them, and also just us as organizational pieces, we need to do a little bit better job. And then another piece is we are ending, you haven't heard yet, we are ending our SCA relationship as far as borrowing players, or even doing the DPL with them on the boys or the girls side. And that's been a little bit controversial to some people, but our feeling is we really want to get back to taking care of our own players, making sure that we are aware of what's going on with all of them. And the girls program this year, there's a lot of difficulty with kids playing in a lot of games, and travel was a long way, but there's a lot of good things that happen with that as well. So our plan is to actually have the girls' Navy teams and the white teams still do tournaments. The Navy teams would do more advanced tournaments at times and go to Pac Northwest like the boys, and maybe go to another out-of-state tournament. So we're still going to give exposure to the girls. We're still going to give them opportunities to go places. And so we're excited about that piece too. And I think we've done a good job of getting a really good plan for them. And I think we've laid it out pretty well with the girls side. So we're excited about that. And then I'll go back to the coaching assignments. We are starting to talk to people. I think I've made it pretty clear to everybody in our meetings, and so is Victor and Chris, that we're not announcing some coaches in certain ages, because we have parent coaches, and we feel like it's important for the players as well as the parents, both the coach's child, but also the other people within the group, that there's no favoritism, that we're evaluating the kids based on what it is, and we will just do that. So there's some coaches that have Navy players and they end up grading out as a white, then that's where they're going to end up, and then that's what we'll have conversations with the coaches about where they are and where they want to be with that team, and whether we feel like it's a good mix for them as well. So that's I think really important to the integrity of the club and what we're trying to do, and making sure that we had a few people saying their politics being played, and we always get that. That's part of the deal. But for us, we want to make sure that we're above board and everybody's aware of what's going on with that. And the coaches evals, so we do have them. As we've been meeting with some coaches, we've been sharing those with them. Please be patient. We'll be getting those to you as we go along. But trust me, we've been all putting in a lot of hours in the last 4 or 5 days, meeting as a group, but also talking to people and talking to parents and planning things. So we will get those evals to you, and happy to talk to you about it. And I think, is there any questions about all that? I try to go pretty fast to get through this so we can get to tryouts. Any questions, concerns, thumbs up, thumbs down on what we're talking about? Okay.
Blake, can I ask a question? Will we ever do evals on ourselves, like a self-reflection eval with you or like the AGC? It was just something I thought about on the same subject that parents do to us. It was just something that I kind of thought,
well,
would be kind of cool to see what was similar. Just an idea. I was just curious.
I think that's part of the, I mean, I'm hoping that I know I do, and I'm sure we all do in this room. We all self-reflect on the job we did that day and how we interact with the kids. And so that part, but I think a conversation with a coach and a technical director is a really good idea. And that's what we're trying to do, Cindy. But we have 40 coaches, and literally we just lost. And this is part of the reason I didn't want to announce coaches so quickly, is we just lost 2 coaches in the last 2 days that we had penciled in, and then we just gained 2 coaches in the last 2 days, and the ones we gained are very good, so we're very happy about that. But that's part of the reason that we haven't been able to meet with everybody, because it does take a lot of time. But the plan is to do that, hopefully after tryouts, frankly, because we're now getting into the tryout piece, and there may be times where we can have even conversations on the field, either after a session of tryouts or before. But if you're feeling urgent about it, and you're feeling like you really want to have that conversation with one of us, then we'll make time for you to do it prior to tryouts. So we can do some of those this weekend, but we're not intentionally ignoring anybody on these things. It's just a matter of trying to pull all this together right now, because there's a lot of things happening in the background, and as far as just really trying to get us organized as far as a club, but also pushing things out. Like, frankly, like the Adidas rollout spent a ton of time for Bryce and Marco, and it's just another little thing to just add in. Marco, we've hired to be kind of the gopher grunt guy. Tyler and I were getting tired of the 12s that show up to training or games, and the goal nets are all over the place. So I even mentioned to Tyler at the time, but we've hired Marco to make sure that our goal nets are on all the time correctly, so that we go out, the balls will stay in the goal net. So and then also just keep making sure trash is off the field, and that we're doing a good job as stewards of the Y, because that's super important. So we're trying to create layers and things, and those pieces are trying to help it make all of our experiences better. So Cindy, yeah, the answer is yes. We'll meet with everybody and do that, and we'll probably send out a self-reflection piece. But generally, I just like the conversation. I think it's important, and hopefully we're doing those more often. And if people need things, you can call us. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I was trying to ask, do you use the same survey you send to the parents to
Oh,
kind of
no.
self-reflect yourself? That's what I guess was my
No.
question.
Yeah,
If you thought
sorry.
that was
Sorry for the long-winded response. No.
okay.
To me, it's a much shorter one. But I can share with you one of the ones I use for myself. I mean, there's just five bullet points pieces that I find important for me, and I can share that with other people too. And I'm sure other coaches here do the same thing. But self-reflection, and that's part of the reason why we want people to document their sessions, because there's quite a few of the folks that are going back after their session and writing notes about it, and that's the big piece, right? Like if you have a session plan, you go back and you go, well, that part was really awesome, and I wish I would have done it this way, or set the cones another yard apart, or whatever, or I had them backwards as far as the order, whatever it is you do. But really good coaches will go back through, and people that are super organized will go back through and make those notes and keep track of it. So it is a little bit of a diary of your sessions. Yeah.
Yeah. I like to do both. I was just curious at
Yeah.
the end of the year, like what tool
Yeah.
you like most for coaches. So
No, we haven't done that, but I think that's probably something we can look at, and it's probably very, very important as far as our documentation as a club, as far as, you know, a review for sure. Yeah. This is just a really hard time to do all this, right? We end with our leagues and state cup, and then bam, we're right into tryouts. So not a lot of time to get all those things done, but I think that's a really good point, Cindy, that we should look to do that for sure. Anybody else on anything that I had to talk about? Okay. I'm going to talk a hair a bit about tryouts past, and then we'll go forward. So I don't want to, I think 2 years ago or something, Jess was in charge of tryouts, and bless her, because she had there's a lot, when we did the tryouts, I wasn't involved with the tryouts. She got mostly incomplete sheets from everybody, and she had to try to piece together who's on what team, and it was really, really difficult for her. I think she did a great job, but man, oh man. And then last year, for the most part, the kids got evaluated, but the spacing, we had so many kids on the fields, and there were a lot of kids that we were trying to manage the people going in and out and who's where and all this stuff, and we really didn't have evaluators that were able to really focus on that piece. And so we've spent a lot of time talking about how to go about changing that, and making it better. So, our tryouts are a little bit, you can see on the way we scheduled them, that we're trying to provide enough space for the teams, hugely important. And because of that, we went from 4 days to 3 days because we just ran out of space on the fields, and we weren't able to get the north pod. So that's part of the reason that we're having to go from 4 sessions to 3 sessions, which will be fine for us to be able to get through all the players, I think, in the groups. And then, so this year, I'm going to let Victor and Chris break in because I'm sure you guys are tired of talking, listening to me, but we're excited about this, and I think it's a pretty good rollout. So, Victor and Chris, I don't know who wants to start, but go ahead and go for it.
Chris, you want that, or?
Go ahead, Victor. I'll let you go and introduce yourself and such.
Yep. Hi, everybody. Thanks for being here. Good evening. My name is Victor Martinez. I'm happy to be joining the club. I moved from California here about a year ago, and had an experience there with CFC, and I decided to come join you guys since I live right around the corner. It's been going great so far. Just, I was taking a look at some things, and Blake was talking about some ideas, and I brought in some ideas and stuff like that, and we can maybe, take the club in a little bit of a more more in a road that we can all be on the same page, rather than being, like he said, one person's doing one thing and another person's doing another. And there's no cohesiveness in the training sessions that we can sit there. Not all of them, actually, not all of them, but for the most part, we're not really cohesive in what we're doing, because everybody, like said, we're playing different formations. So, once the kids transfer from one team to another, if that was the case, well, they're used to doing something completely different. Next, this coach is talking about doing something completely different. And yes, it's a good thing to be able to kind of show them different things, but I think the more thing that I've saw is that some of our players can't even receive the ball. You know what I mean? So if you can't receive the ball, you can't take the next action, right? You can't pass that ball, right? You can't even make that decision about where you're going, because you feel the pressure of an opponent that's trying to get the ball from you while you're still trying to settle it. So I see a lot of that. I see, we need some more technical work. That's kind of the things that I wanted to focus on, because we can sit there and talk about tactics all day long, and bring in Pep Guardiola, but we can't do much if we can't dribble, pass, or shoot, or receive the ball. So I think that's going to be kind of a focus, is kind of what we need to be doing in order to improve and actually get kind of a system going. And we can play out of the back, because the first pass from the goalkeeper to the outside players is the ability for them to receive with the back foot, and then push the ball forward to look at their next pass. So some of us are struggling with that simply by the ball's coming in and bounces back. So we got to straighten out those things. So I want to just show you what at the coaches. I showed you a short version, and I'll make it pretty quick. As far as what we're trying to accomplish here. Where's my share? I don't have a share? No way. Give me a second here. I'm computer challenged. What is happening here? Why don't I have a share?
You might have to click on yourself first, your icon, see if any new options show up. Of course, I'm on a phone, so it's probably different. So at least somewhat on your computer.
Yeah, I don't see a share here. Oh, here we go. Right in front of me. Yeah, you guys trust me now, don't you? So can you guys see that?
Yep.
Good. So that'll be that. This is a short version of it. So, Blake talked about our playing model. As far as our playing model and stuff, so we can be able to kind of all be on the same page. You know, what's the idea behind it? You know, what's the game idea? We want purposeful possession, creative possession play, attacking play, and then rapid defensive defending play, right? So these are basically how we built it up, and we wanted to see what kind of characteristics we had as players and things like that. And down on the bottom, it talks about our formation, except there's a missing 3 there. But it's the same concept. It's the attacking and stuff, and we want to be able to have a good defensive abilities as well too. But I think for me, the focus is more right here. You know, I mean, this is what I'm talking about, is the ability to the technical aspects of the game, because like I was telling everybody else during the girls' meetings, you can't have any of these 3 back here on the bottom until you have these 5 things up on the top. You know, they have to be able to receive the ball well and under control. You know, the players, they must be able to pass accurately long and short ranges. They must dribble in tight spaces, you know, and dribble against opponents. Shooting have to be correctly, whether that's a driven ball, you know, chipping ball, whatever, weighted ball, things like that, flighted ball, all those things that we took, the heading also as well. There's defensive heading, attacking heading, all those things that we have to address for this on the bottom for position, decision, transition, anticipation to work. So this is the focus really for what we need to focus on the club. And again, I hear on this one, these are also principles that we have to kind of address. And you can see on the top how they kind of link to one another, right? You got penetration, and then you got the defensive aspects. But on the bottom, you'll see that there's these technical pieces that must be addressed before we do that. So the principle is the penetration, the creative movement, the compactness, the delay, the things like that. And all of these things on the bottom are the things that you have to work as individuals. Those are the principles that you have to know, but these are the skills that you're going to have. And those are all technical down on the bottom. So just giving you another piece that they go hand in hand. You can't separate those. Our formations, obviously with the little ones, we would start at 2-3. If we were to do this and continuously do this, why am I missing a 3 there? It's a 2-3-1. You'll see it on the far left-hand side. The ones on the bottom are just the concept and idea of the things that we're going to be trying to do is when we are attacking, when we're in transition, and when we're defending. So it's all the same. But we would start, obviously the little ones they're going to start with, you know, simple dribbling, get comfortable on the ball. It's nothing complicated or nothing, just basically all you want them to do is have the passion to play and increase from there. So then we get to the 4-3-1 and you start seeing the similarities. Nothing changes. You start seeing just adding people in different locations. And then when you finally get to the 4-3-3, you have that formation that you have there with all the added players. One of the things that also, you know, we get into discussion about, it doesn't mean that you can't move these players around. Depends on what strategy you want to use. You know, you can move your outside backs, your 2 and 3, and you can move those up when you're attacking. It's creating a 3 and actually 5, 7 players attacking. You know what I mean? If you want to go defensively, I used to bring these number 11 and 7. I used to bring those down when we're on our side of it. So now we're defending with 5. We're defending with 9 and leaving 1 forward as a holding 9 for our, to hold the ball while the people come up. So you can change it any way you want to. It doesn't mean you can't change it around. Depends on who you're playing. Now, this one here just kind of talks about it a little bit again. We want to build out of the back. Kicking the ball, anybody could do that, right? You get the ball, you kick it forward, you're more than likely going to give it to the opposition. And then they're going to try to build on you, or it's going to be a tennis match, right? They go forward, you go forward, and that's all you're going to see. There's nothing there. That's not soccer. It's just you're playing ping pong. You're playing giant with 11 aside, tennis soccer. So what we want to be able to play out of the back. We want to be able to draw those team to come press us, invite us, so we can create space behind it. So if we couldn't go and play out of the back, yes, now we're looking for the space behind it with diagonal runs. Also, the playing out of the back allows teams to control possession and dictate what happens, not being not giving the ball away. Now you're giving it to the opposition to make the decision what's going to take place. You're controlling it. You're trying to say, we're going to play here and we're going to go this way. And it takes work. I'm not saying the 7 asides or some of that. It takes work. You have to get back to the technical piece. That's where it comes in. It also stretches out the play, the opposition as well, to be able to find gaps and play between the lines, break the lines there when you're playing. It gives them more confidence knowing that they have the skill to do something like that. It creates more scoring opportunities once you get through the people because you lift everybody behind. You're beating lines with a single pass, whether it's a one line or two lines or directly going behind the space, but not just kickball. It actually would be an according run, like a diagonal run or underlap run, whatever the case may be. Then we have our midfield play. Obviously, we want huge amounts of distribution from them, huge amounts of ball control, short passes, weighted balls. They're going to be accurate passes. The center midfields usually want to analyze the game. Again, this is going like, we're looking at years for this to build, right? We're not talking about some of the players can do it. Some of the teams are doing it now. We have some good players that can see the game really, really well. So I'm talking about getting everybody to be doing the same thing. They have have to have the ability to distribute in the air, on the ground, whatever they can see into space or 2 feet, whatever that the case may be or the situation calls for. So that's kind of what we're looking to do. Playing out of the back, we want to go ahead and, we want to counterattack. As you can see this little play up here, that would be a movement. That's a diagonal run. See how he's going this way toward that circle, shaded circle. That's a diagonal run. And that would be a long ball. It could have been done from this guy or it could have been done from that guy, right? Another thing you see here is that defender's being pulled away, which creates space for this guy running right here, which means that defender goes this way to that circle as well. That white defender goes to that circle and leaves space where this guy could have sent a long ball here. You see what I'm talking about? Those are the things that we want to see. That's not kickball. That's looking at where the spaces are. Like, for example, right here, he could have gone here if that guy moves away, or we could have gone to this guy as well too. But what I'm saying is he could have gone to that guy. Oops, sorry. He could have gone to that guy, and that guy could have gone to this guy in that space as well too. Once this defender here got pulled away because of this diagonal run. That's an offset run. You're offsetting this defender from his position, and then we're making those runs. That would be appropriate. Not this, just kick it forward, and this guy kicks it back, then this guy kicks it back. That's kickball. That's what we don't want. Let's see here. And that's the short end of it. If you have any questions for me, I'll be happy to answer them for you. Oh, and by the way, these things, we can work these things. If we can, we want to do that actually. We want to go ahead and do some coaching education on our own. And we want to go out to the field and run sessions, run a 7v7 session, run a 9v9 session, run an 11v11 session, and everybody gets an input. We'll set up a topic. Everybody, you do the topic, you do all your exercise, and we pull all together and check it all out. And, we're going to learn a lot because from everybody's input, it's just going to become a better training session for everybody, for all age groups. Right. So that's how we're going to help each other. Then we'll go out to the field and run some more sessions. We'll say, hey, let's run a counterattacking session, transition from defense to offense transition. Right. Or we're going to run a finishing session. Right. Or we're going to do a phase play session we're going to move from the defensive phase to the midfield phase. So to phase 2, right? How do we do that? How do we do that? So all of us get together, we run these sessions, and we all get a chance to see how it works, see how it's done from playing out of the back and building it all the way up to the front. You know what I mean? And that way we're all on the same page. And of course, while we're all there, we're all modifying according to the age group, not just because you see drills, that doesn't mean they're age appropriate. So what we do is those training sessions is we make everything according to the age that we're working with. Because some kids can do it, some kids can't do it, depending on their level of skill level. Especially if you're a burgundy, you might not be able to do a lot of it. So we go back to basics, right? So that's what I also wanted to mention. So I'll leave you guys for questions if you want, and I'll leave the slides up if you need them.
Do you want to take on the tryout portion? What the plan is, and
I can speak at least for the boys' side a little bit first, and then we can hit into tryouts real quick.
okay, yep, that's great.
So yeah, I just wanted to start thanking all the boys coaches. Like I said, I'll speak more to the boys side here. But just from top to bottom, the 11v11 boys groups all did fantastic this year. So I want to thank you guys for that. Really great job. And just sort of touch on plans for next year stuff. Just going to be really, similar to what we did this last year. Just keep trying to progress. I want to hit the training logs up a little bit harder. That's kind of, just like, it's a great self-reflection tool. It's a great tool for me to see and tell parents about and things. But then it's also want to kind of use it as like your guys's, timesheet for the month of just making sure that we know, you guys are at training and your guys are doing that. And then it gives us a way to kind of all be accountable for each other. And then also the game model stuff. We touched on the game model at the beginning, I want to say in January or December. And I want to kind of hit that a little bit harder and really get all of us together, sit down at the Y and kind of go over the principles of it and what we're trying to do and start, getting input from all you guys on how we want to keep growing that. And I think that'll help us all be a little bit more of a cohesive club and cohesive unit. So I'm excited for that. So we'll do that here in the next month, kind of after tryouts, just so we can all get there. But then also, like Blake said, kind of we'll talk even before that about summer plans, what we want to do for the summer, and make sure each team has a plan and where we're going to end at that tournament and where we want to be and what we want to accomplish over the summer. And then we'll do the same thing for the fall and the winter/spring seasons too. So. Yeah. So Victor, you want to share your stations, or Blake, or
Oh yeah.
what track structure is going to kind of look like?
Yeah. So these are the stations that we kind of had planned. They're pretty simple. It's not something we're going to stay there for a long time. Essentially, this is a 20-minute warm up, basically. Maybe not even that. It's kind of like maybe 4 minutes, maybe 16-minute warm up. We want to get a couple of different groups. That way they're scattered. They're everywhere. But you get to see coordination here on this one with the ladders. You'll be able to see their 1v1 here on this one. You'll be able to see their shooting abilities here on this one, and you'll be able to see their passing and receiving abilities here as separate from from the field or a scrimmage. Because sometimes they may be really good here, but when they get to the scrimmage, they might not be that good. But at least you can see here what they need to work on, right? A little bit and stuff like that, and kind of get an idea where that kid might be at. But other than that, these are only 5 minutes, and I'll send these out to everybody. That way everybody has it and stuff. I think the little ones might be doing something different, but it's be fine if they do it. But these ladders are pretty simple. They're not complicated issues. I mean, not complicated, anything complicated here. It's pretty simple, everything that they're doing. This one is just basically, a pass to the player. They turn inside and they get a shot off. Something to be able to see if they can, direct the ball into a certain direction. This one here, I do it all the time. It's my box drill. It works on passing and receiving. You can go ahead and see if they create space between them and the defender, the cone acting as a defender. You can see if they get sideways on, you know what I mean, to receive that ball, to make sure they're prepared to go this way. If they pivot up on the receive, when they're receiving, especially when it's a one touch, to push forward. So things like that. You can go through the technical things that you can see out of that. So this is it. I mean, this is the stations, and I'll get everybody a copy. I'll send everybody a copy of this. So you guys can have that for yourselves. Again, it's pretty simple. It's nothing complicated. We'll go through it. It's just essentially a warm up. Then we'll have 30 minutes for them to see in the scrimmage.
So the other piece that for the tryouts is that we'd like to have evaluators are going to be able to be there at least 2 of the 3 days. We prefer people to be there for 3 days. So if people can make a session, that's awesome. But what we're looking for those people to do is they can certainly help out with the evaluations, but what we're looking to have people do is to help facilitate substitutions, keeping kids organized. Because I found for me last year, I was trying to evaluate and sub kids in and talk to kids about staying focused and sitting down. And also we had so many kids sitting out that we were trying to manage those things as well. So we need some people herding the sheep and making sure they're going into the right spots while the others can evaluate. So, and with that, Bryce is going to, because we're doing a deadline prior to tryouts, we'll have sheets for each age group. And we have a format for that, which will have, certain attributes for each kid and or player, and then you can write numbers in for those. And the idea is that we'd like to make sure every evaluator in each age group has a full detail of every single kid, because if we don't have that from everybody, then the information is kind of useless, right? So ultimately, what we really care about is we'll know what the numbers are for each age group, and we'll know the age groups above and below what the numbers are like. And we definitely need to make sure we have a navy and a white, but there may be some stragglers in there that are in burgundy, and how do we make sure we have places for those kids to play? So everybody's gonna be involved in those kind of conversations. But ultimately, we've got to make sure that we have everybody is very clear with the evaluations, because what's happened in the previous years, like I said, with Jess, I believe it was 2 years ago, everybody gave her the sheets and then disappeared, and then she had to decipher through. So I don't want to let everybody leave until we actually have talked about each age group, and that we all are in pretty well agreement with where those folks are. Because in the past, I think even last year, it took us a while to gather that stuff. I want to get the stuff out really quickly to the families, right? We start training very quickly after tryouts. And that's different from last year, which I think we allowed the kids to go away, and the parents weren't urgent about getting registered or committing to the tryout decision. So now what we're trying to do is right after tryouts, information goes out on what team players are on, and they got to make the commitment within 48 hours. And then we start training, and which I think is really a much more positive way of doing that. And I think we definitely learned from it from last year, and also just increases our registration pieces and all the other things admin wise. It helps us out, but also I think it puts a little bit more urgency on us in the tryout to make sure that we're getting everybody evaluated, and we've sorted out each pool correctly. And then we've taken a look at the pool above and the pool below, and we're trying to make sure that if we feel kids are club soccer players, they have a place to play. There may be some kids that we decide to cut, and that's perfectly fine. But we're really looking for to get that taken care of. And so the hope is by the third tryout, we should have by the third day, we should have a pretty good clear idea of where most of the kids are. And everybody's going to have their own way of evaluating. I've talked about this a lot. I tend to sort it. The people that are on the top end are up here, and people on the bottom are down here, and then I keep sorting through the middle. The other piece is, because we have so many fields, the field space, we're probably gonna be doing 2 games. So we'll have 4 different teams. And by the second day, we'll sort teams out based on where people are on the teams so far through the evaluation, so that we can make sure we're paying attention to the ones we still don't quite know. And then of course, you always got to go through a second time to make sure that your decisions about players are correct, and you keep watching players, because sometimes they'll have a bad day. And then the other thing that's super important, which didn't happen last year, is that when you're evaluating, please stay away from each other, because I think the other piece is it's a really good learning experience for all of us to go ahead and evaluate by yourself. I did 10 years of ODP, and we'd have 120 kids, and I'd have 4 hours to go through them. So I didn't have a whole lot of time to talk and chat, and you have to really whip through it. But I think it's really important for everybody to go through their own evaluation and try to see if we have the same things, and that we're not in groupthink, right? So a lot of times it's important that even if you're really an experienced coach or haven't done this a whole lot, that you have your own ideas and bring those to the table. Because some guys like me will be stuck in an idea or stuck on a player because I like something about them, but there may be somebody I'm missing. So we definitely keep it separated. The other part is that we're going to have a lot of parents out there, And we're going to ask the parents to stay outside the netting. So that's not going to be super popular because last year they're close to the fields. We're going to keep them separated. So we need your help to also enforce that. But we're also going to only allow the entryway right from where the fields are, where people check in. So we'll be able to keep that clear. Bryce has set up 52 balls for size 4s, and we have 52 balls of size 5. We have pennies sorted out. We'll have cones. Hopefully, I think Victor, myself, and Chris, and some others will get that early. Make sure the warm-ups are set up and ready to go and all looking sharp. But we could really use help with people. If you don't have anything to do, is go introduce yourself. If kids are looking confused about what to do, ask them their name, get to know their names, but also their number. And then we'll probably have it broken down to where kids could go to what station, right? And we'll probably have those stations, 4 stations, 4 teams, and we'll go from there. So we'll have, green, yellow, red, and blue teams, for instance. All the kids are supposed to wear Navy tops. I didn't do a good job of requiring everybody during training to wear our club gear for the last spring. And Paventry and Brown and a couple other sponsors give the club a fair chunk of money. I think between $10,000 and $12,000 a year for those things to be worn, and we've got to do a little bit better job of that. So we've asked the kids to bring their navies if they have them. They don't have to bring the Paventry and Brown ones, but we're asking them to wear navy to the tryouts. So that's pretty important. And the other thing is we're going to ask them to put their numbers on their shorts in front. It's really hard to see sometimes, so you can certainly move around and stuff, but we're going to try to keep that consistent. We may ask them to tuck in their pennies so that we can see them, because last year some of these kids are super small, and so the penny's going over the number and you can't see them. So we may have to ask kids to tuck in their numbers. And then the other thing is, I think last year, I think we did a pretty good job of looking pretty sharp and keeping it fairly organized, but we had so many numbers on small fields that it looked a little bit disorganized. And our hope is that the presentation that we're doing this year with the warm-ups, but also then being right into some small set of games right away, will help us. So again, we'll get out the script to everybody over the course of the next day about how that goes for you. And if you have questions, please reach out. But we're really excited about this. And also we have that sign up sheet for everybody. So please continue to put your names on places. And if you're already got an assignment or you're unsure about where to go, you can reach out to Victor and Chris, and they can probably tell you this is where we're leaning towards you being. So sign up for these days. But hopefully we're going to communicate with you guys over the next couple of days to let you know where we would like you to go. And then also there'll be assignments that we'll place on, evaluators and also just not sheep herders, but just, helping facilitators. We'll probably call them facilitators. And the facilitators aren't because we don't think you're a good evaluator. It's just because maybe you can only make one day. And so that's where 1 or 2 days and everybody else can make 3. So that doesn't mean you still can't evaluate and help out, but we definitely need people running the tryout so that the thing's moving. So keeping track of time and, like I said, making sure subs are happening and all those kind of things. Are we out? Got a reboot?
No, we started a whiteboard.
Oh, gotcha. Thank you.
I have a quick question. Do you want
Yeah.
us to, if there's a job that we would prefer to do you want us to put it on the spreadsheet?
Please, yeah.
I would love to run the tryout or whatever.
Yeah. We, just like we ask the players to be uncomfortable. If it's something you'd like to stretch yourself a little bit, let us know. There may be 5 people who ask for the same thing, but we'll try to mix it around and certainly put people in places that they want to be. So absolutely. Yeah.
Cindy?
Oh, I was trying to ask, it sounded like you're saying there might be games, like 2 games going while you're also at a different station. How would you see all the players? Would you rotate with them when they leave your station to go to a game? I mean, maybe that's in the script you're going to hand out, but I was just kind of curious if I understood that, maybe.
Yeah, so we're doing the 4 stations as a warm-up, and then after we're done with that, we're going to games.
Okay.
So yeah, evaluators should follow a group of kids, or in my opinion, stay with a group of kids through the warm up the first day, because you can watch all of them. You might be able to sit and watch two groups because, you can move your eyes and see two
Right.
groups at the same time. But yeah, and everybody's going to have to evaluate your own way. It's just, you got to make sure that you get through all the kids, with significant time, and try to learn what they're doing, and write notes and all those things. So
Is
So
there
do you-
sorry, go ahead.
Oh,
Sid.
I was just gonna ask, if you already feel like you know a group pretty well, would you like us to make a note? And would you want us with that group still, like those 2014 girls, since, we've seen them play a lot? Would you want us to make a note of that? Or are you guys already pretty much aware of that, so you'd probably put us there anyway?
well, I think what's important is, like I said before, is that I really feel like being separated, Cindy, that group really well, but if you were to go talk to somebody, it takes away their time to like decipher for themselves whether that's actually their opinion of it as well. So I think it's perfectly great that if you're familiar with the 14, that you still get to evaluate them and write notes and everything. But I would like whoever else, if it's me, I don't really know that group. I'd like to just do it myself, because I want to make sure I'm seeing the same thing you are. If that makes sense. So yeah, even if you've worked with a group forever, it's a good idea to make notes, because some kids may step up, or yeah, and some kids may not step up, right? And so and they've got to perform in the 3 days. It's the fair way to do it. So I'll
Is there-
explain.
I have another question. It's kind of along those lines. For teams or groups that we know pretty well, would you want us to send Chris or Victor maybe our list of where we think people are ranked, so that they can kind of be split up already going in, or not at all?
I think the randomization is really, I want this to be like a learning experience for everybody. So like that is, I definitely think at the end of it, it'd be really important for people that know the group to overlook what we came up with, to make sure we didn't miss something,
Okay.
But like, I've been coaching the 2012 boys, and I know pretty much every kid in the whole age group. But we're I'd rather have new people look at it and get a fresh look at it, and I'm looking at this as an experience for the coaches to learn too, and to also start sharing information and learning about what we each see about our evaluations, because some people look at players in a different light and how they evaluate them. So
I just didn't know if you wanted, like if you have this really strong group that's all together, but then you have then the lowest player in the group with this, it.
yeah.
But I guess that's easy to pick out, maybe, hopefully.
Yeah, well, I think what happens, so I didn't talk about that, but the randomness in the first day is perfectly fine. And then the second day, and by the third day, we've got, I tend to like to put the team that I still don't know much about onto one team, so I can just watch that team, because everybody else I'm not really having to watch. But we all do it differently. So I think it's up to the evaluators on that third day or second day even. But I think putting when we had really big numbers, we always put a really good team out there and then threw everybody else out there and see how they dealt with it,
Yeah.
So yeah.
Jessica, I don't know. For me, it would help me, because that way I know who I just need to kind of glance at and see those things, and I'd be able to detect them so I can move on quickly. Because there's going to be so many kids, I want to be able to move on quickly to the next kid, right? So if you're saying, yeah, take a look at this kid right here, he's got this, and this, and it's not going to take me, but at least, some coaches, it doesn't take very long to see that and just spot the things that I want to see. Like I said, I'm just looking for, can he dribble the ball? You know what I mean? Can he receive the ball, and what does he do with it? Does he take on 1v1s for like little guys? That's really all I'm going to look at. What everything else to me on the list doesn't matter. I know they probably can't pass very well. I just want to look at those things. If he's comfortable with that, I'm moving on. So like if you say this guy can do it, this guy can do it, I'm going to look for those things and move on to the kids that I need to look at. You know what I mean? Because there's a lot of them. So I want something that shortens it down for me. Absolutely. So in my opinion, yeah, I would actually
I
want that.
I want to push back though, Victor, on that, and I want to stay with what I said, and that is, I also want the coaches to have to like figure it out themselves, right? Like, so if we're giving people secrets or giving people things, then it does actually influence what they're seeing, but also it takes away from the coaches having to learn how to evaluate, right? Because we're giving them the answers, and I don't think that's good for their growth. That doesn't mean, but I think back it up with what Jeff was saying. I wouldn't mind having a list for after the tryout to make sure that we didn't screw it up, and also for us as teachers of the other coaches to talk about maybe what we see in it, and it just creates a discussion rather than everybody having the answer. So let's just try it my way, and then we'll see how it goes. And I'm not trying to be a jerk about it, but I
No,
really,
that's fine.
really want this to be a part of the learning experience for all the coaches, and also I love hearing from other coaches what they see that I didn't see, and that's a huge learning experience for me too. So
Does that include player evals? Like if someone gets someone that we did player evals on this year, would you want us to pass those files on?
well, so I pass them on to the AGCs because if we have stuff from last year, then we want to put that into each player's eval. But as far as tryouts, no, I don't want that going into the tryouts.
We also have to be true to the kids, right? If we're evaluating, right? It's not just about an opinion from a coach last year. It's about evaluating these kids and giving them a fair shot.
But if we have evals from last year, we definitely want to get them to the technical director so we can put them in the file, for each kid, So what I was talking for
Because
sure.
we're compiling those from year to year.
Yeah. And again, I mean, I think each pool, we may have 40 kids in it, and we have 3 days, 4.5 hours to get through 40 kids. And I think everybody that's evaluating should be able to get through that pretty easily within 4.5 hours, right? If we're all focused on it. So, yeah. What else we got? Anything else? Anybody have any other questions?
I can add in a little bit about the forms. We talked about the sheets that we're going to hand out, just kind of normal tryout sheets with the names and numbers, some numbers for comments and stuff. It's on the tryout sign up sheet online on that document. All the pages are there for each age group, and we'll populate those probably, I think, Monday afternoon, Bryce said, with all the names and things, and then we can compile all the evaluators tryout sheets on each page, like the 2014 boys page, and everybody can upload their evaluation sheets on there, so we can all see them all together and all look at them. And even then, like in the days between tryouts, we can all take a look and see what everybody's thinking and make comparisons and start to tinker with what groups we want in certain places, and the groups that are definitely A team, definitely bottom groups type of thing, and make it a little bit easier to suss out the middle group.
And then this is one little operational piece for everybody. When I do print those sheets out, day of tryouts, there's inevitably going to be people who register late or who do a walk-up registration who won't be on that sheet. So what I've done, and I've set this up with the people at the check-in table, if there's somebody who registers late or does a walk-up registration, they're going to fill out just a little slip of paper that has their name, their age group, and their number on it. And then they're going to, once they're done checking in, getting their number and stuff, they're going to take that slip of paper out to the coach on the field and give it to whoever's running that session. That way that slip can get circulated between the coaches evaluating that age group, and that player's information can get written down on everybody's clipboard. That way everybody knows this player's name and number and what age group they're supposed to be evaluated in. So that's a little minor update from last year to make sure that those players who show up late or register late get included in your guys' evaluation sheets.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, that's great. Okay, if there's no more questions, that we don't have to be here till 8:15. So really appreciate everybody's time. If you have questions, you can reach out to Bryce, Victor, Chris, myself, and then we will be sending out times that I think everybody shared the docs where you're at, but we'll send out what we're looking for you guys to do in the tryouts, and then also we'll continue to talk to everybody about coaching assignments and things as we go through the next day or so and before tryouts. We hope to have most of our conversations with everybody done, but we may not get to everybody. We're trying. Eric, do you have something? Well, all right. Thank you guys very much. Appreciate it. Again, if you have anything, just reach out to us, and really appreciate your time tonight. And look forward to seeing you guys next week.
Thanks, Blake.
Thanks, guys.
Appreciate you guys.
Thank you.
Good night, everybody.
Soon.
Guys.
Yep.